Welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
Here we go. What you think about, you will bring about dementia change. We will.
Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm thrilled you can join us here for open mic. I never know who's going to show up, how many people for sure that I'm going to have. I know for sure one person that's going to be here, which I'm really excited. He's been in the industry quite a while, super heartfelt, has cared for his own father and is doing some amazing work. But before I introduce you to him, I just want everyone to know that Alzheimer's Speaks now owns Dementia Map as well. And so you will see some of our branding change to co-brand with Alzheimer's Speaks and Dementia Map. And if you're not familiar with Dementia Map, that is a resource directory, which is free to anybody to access. And we want people in there all around the world, from someone who's written a book, someone who's living with dementia who might have a support group or a blog or a YouTube channel or whatever, to family members, to businesses, of course, of a wide variety, as well as hospitals and clinics and doctors and, you know, all kinds of things. We've got like 150 categories. We have a blog there that you can read some marvelous articles on. There is a calendar of events that you will see some things listed on, as well as a glossary. So check out dementiamap.com. And also, one of the things we've done here on Alzheimer's Speaks for quite a while is we ask people to be a giver of hope. And what that means is just to like, click, and share resources about dementia. Our show, other people's show, and you can actually now download a little graphic if you want to put that on your website or your email or your social media, so that we can get more people sharing information that is needed out there. And speaking of wonderful information that people need, I always like to give a little shout out to Twiddle. Twiddle provides sensory products, which are fantastic, especially if you're dealing with sundowners or someone who has anxiety issues. They're just little muffs that people can play with. They can keep their hands warm in the winter. Here in Minnesota, it's freezing, so I actually use mine once in a while just to stay warm. And they also have an item called Adapt or Wrap, which is a wonderful shirt that secures in the back, and it's very easy to use, and again, nice and warm. So that is all I'm going to do for shout outs right now. Let's go ahead and see who's behind the curtain for open mic. Well, Vince, I'm so excited to have you back on the show. It's been quite a while, and I'm looking back at how long we've known each other just through social media, and you know, you've had an amazing journey with dementia. And so I'm going to have you introduce yourself, give a little background to who you are and what you do and why you do what you do.
Yeah, I'm Vince Zangaro. It's good to see you also, Lord. Thank you for having me on. I was a care partner to my father for 14 years. Dad was diagnosed at 62. I was 29 when he was diagnosed. We unfortunately lost him in 2018, but we had a 14-year journey that was, you know, pretty beautiful all at home. So we were very fortunate to be able to do that. And fortunately for my wife, she was there. And during that time, because I did music, I started a fundraiser and an event called the Alzheimer's Music Fest. And now I think we're on our 13th year, our 11th Atlanta one. And we also do them in different areas also. Whether that's Savannah or Tampa or, you know, one of the other underlying areas that we've done in the past, Athens, things like that. And we're here to kind of give resources, be able to make it a little bit easier and give better a quality of life, at least a lot more knowledge and actually tangible things that can help you right now, right here.
Wow, that's fantastic. If you don't mind sharing, kind of before we get into the Alzheimer's Music Fest that's coming up, um, maybe give people a little more depth on the caring for your dad, what that was like for you as a young individual, where there wasn't much resources for you at your age in terms of peers, if my memory serves me right, and you were kind of a lone star out there, caring for your dad.
No, exactly. Yeah, there wasn't many resources out there. It definitely is not the awareness factor, even though we need more today, especially with dementia-related diseases. We really did not have any resources. I think one of the hardest things is when we figured out, even though Dad retired from the government, plus he was a veteran, that insurance wouldn't cover a lot of the costs in home. That was something we were definitely blindsided about. So when we were looking to maybe bring in some home care, and these are things I'm very passionate about, having respite care for the caregiver and for your loved one living with dementia, to kind of give you both a breather from each other. That's always nice. You
Kind of like a
realize
marriage, you need your space, you know.
you realize that the insurance isn't going to cover it. So basically, be able to come up with resources like that through the years has been a blessing. And then also really just being able to sustain in the isolation that you go through. You don't realize. I was telling my partner Carissa, because it's nice. We've been a special event involved with a lot of nonprofits through the years, and we've always been under their umbrella. So we took the big step, and we will always work with a lot of these nonprofits that we really, really think highly of. But it's now going to be Alzheimer's Music Festival will be a full-time nonprofit, so we're very excited that we have the people coming forward with that. But the isolation was one of the biggest things for me. I think being completely alone, not knowing. I was very young, very ignorant at the time. Dad had Alzheimer's. His father had it. We don't know how far back that goes. His brother has had it. His two sisters have had it. My uncle Chick died a few years back with Alzheimer's also. I had the APO4 gene that I got tested for, so it runs very highly in our family. And we finally came up with kind of a beautiful life with kind of the hand we were given. It was very frustrating the first 4 years. I was not a good care provider. I was there, which I think is the most important thing, but I did not know what I was doing. You cannot just jump on. There's only so much you can read to prepare you for something like that. The panic attacks, the anxiety, being up at all hours of the night, not sleeping with one eye open, a lot of things that new parents go through, which I don't like to refer that as kind of a child syndrome. It's not. I respect my father. He's my best friend of my father, but a lot of those things that you don't sleep, and I almost call it almost the Benjamin Button thing, where you're going backwards in that. I
Mhm.
call it the Benjamin Button syndrome. And I guess the hardest part for me, which I didn't realize, is after Dad passed, it became so much of my identity, because people think of dementia related diseases as, oh, you're just forgetting things. And especially with Alzheimer's, they don't think about it that you're not going to know how to eat anymore. You're not going to know when to go to the restroom. You're not going to be able to take a shower on your own. It really becomes there, and seeing the very last steps within that last year when he transitioned, it did feel a little bit like losing your whole identity. And I think that was the hardest part. Sometimes I still miss, it's only been 5 years.
Mhm.
Sometimes I miss being in that little bubble with him. And fortunately, my wife came in halfway through this process, and that helped us out a lot. So there's a lot of things I'm still living with, anxiety and PTSD. I'm getting through it, going to shrinks. I did the grief counseling thing. A lot of things I've had to adapt to. It almost felt like I remember going to Best Buy right after my dad passed, and I was like, where's your CD section? And the young kids were almost laughing at me. They were like, well, CD, it's in the bargain bins. It's the best way I can explain it. I know. I think that's a good, metaphor to kind of you don't realize that you get so into it and you love it, and I do. It was one of the best things I ever did was take care of dad. It brought a lot of beautiful things into my life, but it was a lot of hardship. It was a lot of grief over and over. Um,
Yeah.
you don't realize it until you get older, the extent. that it was such a beautiful thing, but because you went through it so long, there are going to be things that a lot of us live with, and you're going to live with forever.
Yeah. Well, and when you mentioned the CDs, I remember in support groups, people saying, I didn't know what to wear. I didn't know what was in. I wore sweatpants all the time, because I was just running around at home or doing grocery shopping or doing doctor's appointments or, and the lack of sleep or hairstyle. What do I do with my hair? I don't know. I don't know what's in. I mean, you get so disconnected. I remember people asking me, well, what do you like to do? I don't know. I haven't done anything for myself for so long. I literally did not know. And that's a very strange feeling. And people look at you just cockeyed, like, well, how can you not know? And it's like, because you gave so much of yourself to someone else, you were so low on the list in terms of priorities. Sometimes when you're going through this, I know I did not have good balance. And some people can afford to have balance and call in support. Some people choose not to. And, it doesn't make any difference which way it is. But balance, I think, is one of those things we need to talk about more of. But we also have to talk about it, like you said, in a realistic way, because you can't have balance if there's not support. And how do you talk about that? And how do our government agencies and our churches and our communities and our societies and people at large understand this disease? And the only way they're going to do that is if all of us keep talking about it in real fashion, instead of I got it under control, or appearing that we have it under control, and then going in the house and screaming like, why isn't anybody helping? So there's a lot of that kind of stuff that goes on. So thanks for sharing. I don't think people understand the depths of care. And, when you said you don't like, making the comment about it's similar to maybe parenting, but it is. It's not that they're young. It's because you love them and you want to care for them and you want the best for them. Or it could be a pet that is sick. I mean, it could be all kinds of things. So, but I think we put things in such tight little categories that we don't see the overlap that we all are dealing with in different fashions. So thank you for sticking with the disease, even after your dad has passed, to make such a significant difference in the world, because you really have, you are so well known around the world for what you're doing and how you're doing it. It's pretty amazing, the impact that you've had. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about the Alzheimer's Music Fest? You mentioned that you were a musician and stuff. And so some people might think, oh, well, then that's just easy for him to pull together. None of this stuff is easy to pull together. Let me tell you.
Oh no, it's definitely not. Like I said, it's pretty cool. This is again a new journey for me. I've been very fortunate to have a career, right after my father passed away, and for these people to have supported me, and now kind of going off on my own. And then even I work with Silver Companions, which is a home care company, because this is a local home care company that I was really into. So I really wanted to go in because we were giving respite care
Mhm.
to families. I wanted to go learn the inside out of a home care company instead of just kind of complaining about it. And they were just one of my favorite home care companies. So I have like 3 different jobs now. But able to pay the bills and do my passion. And that's what's pretty amazing. And it just turned into music and dementia related diseases, my passion. I just kind of put it all together. And the upcoming fest on February 22nd at Smith's Old Bar, which just is a, very legendary venue out here in Atlanta, will be 2 stages. And we have this really popular band from the 80s, the Producers, playing, and Glenn Phillips from Dirty Goose Hampton Band, Glenn Phillips Band, and many other bands are going to be in it. We have 2 stages, and they are very difficult, and they are very hard. I'm doing one in Savannah also. So at the same time as this one, I'm planning for Savannah in August, and we're going to do 2 this year, and hopefully move that up to 3 next year. And we kind of like to keep it. We were getting to a point where we're doing it in like 1,200, 1,300 venues out here in Atlanta. And what got me was it just started becoming a concert again. Not saying we won't go to the bigger venues again, but I was like, let's take a step back. There were things with Ticketmaster that I didn't like most people didn't like, the surcharges, things like that. I want caregivers, when I'm pricing these things out, I want to raise money, but I also want caregivers to be able to come and be able to afford it if they can possibly get a night out, which I know is very hard, by being that person also. So, and so kind of just going back to a 400 venue, I think is pretty exciting, and making it more of an intimate venue, because you were there a long time ago at like one of the very first ones I think that was like the third one or whatever it was that we did. It was a small rinky dink, bar, and then we went up to big ones, and now I'm like, there has to be a middle ground
Mhm.
for this, because I want people, when we do look at sponsors and when we do look at other nonprofits that join us, there's a lot of resources in that room, and
Mhm.
I want people to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
And I don't want it just to be another concert. And we've been so fortunate to have, bands like Driving and Crying, Arrested Development, Cracker, Reverend Horton. I mean, all these big bands from the 90s, kind of my age demographic, the bands that I listened to, I started putting on there. So we've been very fortunate to get all these people involved in so much of the local music scene. When you mix, this is the one thing that I've realized, now that I've been doing this for a while, when you mix the nonprofit community with the music community, you really can be unstoppable. It's like these two communities that just have so much passion. You put all of it together, it's pretty amazing what it can do. And then how you feel that night at the show, you feel the energy in the air. It's just very uplifting. You're all there for a reason. It's also very emotional. Ever since my father, unfortunately, Dad never really went to a fest. He'd come for sound check, things like that, but it was a little too overwhelming, because this is not music therapy.
Mhm.
The music fest. This is very loud music, a lot of bands, a lot of people going on. So, I've had, people living with dementia speak at these things, a lot of different people that have taken, active role in advocacy speak at the fest, but it can be very overwhelming to the senses depending on where you're at with your dementia related disease, whether that's Alzheimer's, Lewy bodies, vascular, frontal lobe, wherever you're at. It can be very overwhelming.
Yep.
So,
Concerts can be loud for sure.
yeah.
And some people like to go and wear earplugs that muffles it where they can still hear it, but it
Yeah.
muffles some of it a little bit. But you definitely need to know your person. It would be neat, and maybe you're already doing this, but if you got a variety of home health care to all, purchase a few tickets and give them away to their clients to go so that they maybe had coverage or something.
Yeah, we do
And
actually do that, because we have a couple home care agencies that are some of our major sponsors, and they do
Mhm,
they do hand out tickets to, whether even if it's their care pros even
mhm.
getting a night out, or the family caregiver, things like that. So that has happened in the past before. I kind of let them do what they want to do with those tickets once they get that sponsor package. But yeah, that has happened in the
Yeah.
past before.
Yeah, because I think so many people, and I know it's scary to leave as a care partner because sometimes you just think you can't go. What'll happen if I go? Because you're so used to being there, watching over everything, and it's a difficult thing sometimes for people to step out of the house. But it really is, I think, life changing, and is such a good connector. And I like your idea of the smaller venues because people talk and share stories and are able to talk to the resources and stuff that are there. We're in a bigger venue, and again, I haven't been to one like that, but in a bigger venue I think that it could be more difficult to
It gets a
do.
little lost in translation. You think but you do have to try things. You go
Mhm,
out there, and I tried things, and it was great.
mhm,
Live Nation was amazing. The people I worked with was amazing. It's just I really do like the 700 and under venues. That's I think the perfect spot, and I like to do a few of these a year in different
mhm.
places. So if I was looking at doing one a year, well, then maybe a bigger venue would be great. But I like to bring them to different areas so we can serve more people in more communities. And Stand Up for Seniors, who we're partnering with this year, just does so much good work in Cherokee County. And again, we're always going to partner with our trusted nonprofits. That's
Mhm,
something I believe in. A lot of nonprofits don't do that in some
mhm,
cases. I want, because they're good at the resources they do. Why
mhm.
reinvent the wheel? We're good at what we do. Let's work together on this. Stand Up for Seniors is a great nonprofit. FODEC, who I've worked with for many years, that provides free refurbished medical equipment, is a great nonprofit. So these are the relationships. And so Second Wind Dreams, PK, who's a beloved friend that, started the virtual dementia tour, and Second Wind Dreams. So, these are, relationships I'll have for the rest of my life. So they're already doing good at what they're doing. So we bring something else to it, but we all work together. So, hopefully when you call one of us, we might not have every single answer. It's not going to be a magic pill, but we'll be able to know someone that probably can get you that answer or get you closer to where you would like to be.
Well, that's exciting. Are you still doing, because when I was at, you did like a silent auction. Are you still doing those with it?
I do the thing that was real popular just at these festivals. It gets a little hard with the amount of people that come to them now. So what we do is do the guitar auction, and we just do lottery tickets and stuff like that. And we probably are going to start by at the silent auction. But when you're doing a silent auction in that kind of environment, it's just very different than maybe doing a casino night or a golf tournament. It's really a difficult thing to pull off. So we are looking at bringing it back again, but doing it more on an online basis where you can do it for maybe a month or two before that. And because we do have several known musicians that played with us, so we can get a lot of autographs. So we are looking and bringing that back again, but doing it more there and online, and then people will get that afterwards.
Yeah, I was thinking if you had it like on an app for the online thing, because then they could do it before, and then you could announce, "Hey, check it out! Here's the QR code."
If you do it right, if you do a silent auction right, the way I want to do it, it's almost like a separate business. For the it's the same, but you want to treat it almost as a business. So I've talked to a few people. This is what they do for a living, and they do get a percentage of the proceeds, but they can raise a lot more money than I can make or raise with volunteers at an actual event.
Well, then you got to get everything to people after the fact too, when it's online and shipping and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would imagine it gets complicated. So who's your lineup for this year?
This year again, we had the Producers, which had many hits in the '80s, are really known as a new wave band back in the '80s. Glenn Phillips, Guru Fish, Drop Sonic, big bands in kind of the region and things like that. Then Ralph Roddenberry, Donna Hopkins, Brad Poole, the Judys, Lefty Williams. I mean, it goes on. Thomas Claxton. We have 2 stages that are going to be going, and this one's kind of really cool. Is we've been starting to do this a lot lately. Is do meet and greets with the headliner band. So about 5 o'clock, we're going to have a catered early dinner with the Producers, and they'll be hanging out with people that do pay for the VIP and for the meet and greet and for the sponsors that have come in. So that's kind of a new thing that we're putting to it.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Have you ever thought of or ever done, and I don't even know if they have this down in Georgia, but in Minnesota, they have like the Giving Voice Choir, where people with dementia and their care partners actually sing and do songs as somebody in the lineup at all?
We really have, and I've talked to a few bands. Again, it's in these venues, it is extremely hard. You do not know what to do. And Smith's Old Bar was kind enough to come by and say, we want to work with you on this, and we're going to have like handicap accessible issues because it is a historic building. They do keep it the same way, so it does get a little overwhelming when you're trying to do that in and off stage, and then you have insurance liabilities, things like that, so you got to be a little bit careful. I wish we could do everything, but
Yep. Well, my mind's always spinning, but you want it to come off right, and you want people to have a good time and a good experience and stuff. So that makes total sense to be able to do that. And again, with the environment, for some people that might not work for them with all the stimulation going on in the room and
it's back-to-back bands. So even people with that living in that band, like you basically got to be on and off. That's just the way it works. It's a backlight. It's a whole thing that you don't want me to go into. That's a whole different hour.
Yeah.
Backlining an event.
Yeah. Well, no, I can appreciate that, because any event, you've got to meet your deadlines and your timelines, and everybody has to understand what's what. And I can't even imagine with the equipment and the microphones and all of that stuff on top of it and things would be kind of crazy. Now, the year I was there, you had a gal who like painted a picture in like no time at all. I can't remember how she did it, but it was amazing. Do you remember who that was or what
Yeah,
that
Heather
was?
Wilkinson. Yeah, we did
Mhm,
that a few times. And again, this was kind of where I was trying things, kind
mhm,
of what works, what doesn't work,
mhm,
what is too much. When we started kind of getting to larger bands that were very
mhm,
well known, some even, Music Hall of
mhm.
Fame members now and things like that. When we started getting into that realm, people wanted to be, we kind of got rid of a lot of that other stuff because we really had to pay more attention to what was working, which
Sure.
was that was very beautiful. I would love to do that again, but to
Mhm,
have them on stage with like what I said, the chaotic
mhm.
nature of what we're doing there already, it's very hard.
Okay. Okay. Well, you know what you're doing, that's for sure. And you wouldn't be doing it for this long if it wasn't successful. So,
Sometimes simple. What I've learned is sometimes more simple, better.
yep,
That's what I've learned through the years.
yep.
Stick to what's good on it, and then try not to throw too many irons into the fire.
Yeah, well, and that goes with dementia care too.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in keep it simple. It doesn't have to be that complicated. And when we get to that simplicity stage, things fall together a lot easier. Everyone's less stressed and have more fun and a better day with that. So, oh, exciting. Is there anything else that you wanted to tell us about?
No, just that's the upcoming one, and we do have another one in Savannah. It'll be our third music fest in Savannah. On August 16th with Cowboy Mouth and the Ain't Sisters. So that's going to be a big one. And that is it. And one thing I did want to say, when we were talking back a little bit, is talking about things on the after effects of caregiving and then what you're
Mhm,
going through and getting pain. Dad did give me many superpowers, like
mhm,
not to react with
mhm,
compassion, not
mhm,
necessarily just with confusion or with anger. So,
mhm,
I've walked away with so many things that maybe I wouldn't have got to later in life, if it wasn't for my father. So every day that he gave me was a gift. And I want to make sure that anybody kind of going into this care role, that it really is a blessing in many
mhm.
ways. And you will learn so many things about what you're made of and what that person is and just what unconditional love means.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. And the people that you meet, the relationships that are built, the people you would never know if it weren't for the disease, and the connections and the collaborations are pretty incredible as well with that. But yeah, I think it, to me, my mom lived 30 years with the disease, and it really simplified what life was really all about. It's not about the big and flashy. It really gets you to the point of what truly is important in this world and in your life. And then, once you find that zone, I think it's much easier to amplify that on a real authentic level because you get where other people are coming from, and yet you can always learn from somebody who's even just stepping into it. I mean, you always learn. I always learn from everybody I talk to, and even though you and I, sometimes people will look at us as an expert because we've been in this field so long. I don't think any of us is a true expert. I think we're all just active learners. And
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
on that. So, well, why don't you give people contact information so they know how to find out about this? And also, if someone's, let's say, not down in Georgia, but they would like to donate, I would assume you're open to that as well.
Yeah, of course. You can go to standupforseniors.org for that, alzheimersmusicfest.org for that. You can also just Google 11th Annual Alzheimer's Music Fest. We're getting a lot of press and media right now. And again, thank you for having us on. So everything will be everywhere. And then also my email address is vince at alzheimersmusicfest.org. If you have any questions or if you need any details or anything like that beyond what I'm giving you right now.
Well, thank you so much for your time and your energy and your passion and your persistence has just been incredible. And your ability to be so vulnerable and share your experience. I mean, I remember when your dad was still alive and you were just so authentic in your good days and bad days. And that is so important for people to hear because it's not all peachy. there are struggles for the person with dementia and for those that care for them. And, we're not going to be able to provide services people need if we don't talk about those things too. And then, mentioning the joy. I think there was a picture you had taken of you and your dad, like kind of heads leaning against each other, holding hands or something. And it just, to this day, when I see that, it just still melts my heart. That's what it's about. It's the small beauty of the connections that you have. And didn't you have a parrot too, or a bird?
Yeah, we have a cockatiel, Chappie. Yeah, that was Dad's best friend. He became well known there for a minute. Yeah, they were pretty amazing together. He's doing awesome, man. He still looks like a young buck.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, Vince, we wish you the best of luck. We know it'll be an amazing event, and please keep us posted as your next one rolls up in August. We can have you back on to talk about that as well if you'd like.
No, Lord, thank you so much. I appreciate you. It was good seeing you and talking to you.
Nice seeing you again, and thank you. Bye-bye. Well, Vince, as you can see, is just an amazing guy. And I hope if you're able that you will support the Alzheimer's Music Fest. Again, if you can't make the event, you can still donate if you'd like. Or, maybe talk to him about purchasing some free tickets to send somebody else down in the area so that they can go and get a little bit of respite. That would be wonderful as well. In closing, I just want to give a shout out to my wonderful webmasters, Q for Good. They are absolutely excellent. So if you're looking for someone to, if you're updating a website or you're making changes, these guys are fabulous. They communicate well, they follow up. They're just right on the money, and they make your job a lot easier being connected to others. So you can just go to qforgood.com and connect with them. And if you mention my name, you can get 10% discount as well. And then again, last reminder, feel free to check out Alzheimer's Speaks. We have one whole section of free educational resources. So feel free to download, listen, watch all of those. There's a variety of things there. And then please check out dementiamap.com, our sister company. And maybe you are a provider of a service, product, or tool. Feel free to sign up. You can do a free listing, or there are a couple of paid plans as well that are very reasonable for the year that we can then help promote you as well. So with that, have a wonderful 2025, and we'll talk to you soon, everybody. Bye now.